Welcome back to another Ace Bros video. Today we are doing a training video and the focus is going to be the forehand. Now before we start explaining how to throw a forehand and some beginner tips, as I'm a beginner just learning a forehand, and I just wanted to come on and explain what helped me learn it, because obviously I'm not a pro, I'm not the greatest disc golfer there ever has been, but I'm getting better at it, and I just wanted to come and share some things that helped me learn it. So to start off, I've got two separate discs here. We'll start with this Innova turn. So when I throw this up with a backhand, it's gonna have a right to left flight. And when you throw this thrasher, it's kind of the opposite. If you throw it straight, it's going to what's called a backhand turnover. So it's gonna end up going right instead. But you can counteract that with hyzer, which means I'm bending over and kind of angling the disc down, which it'll then flip up and then go right to left, like this disc. So now taking that information to a forehand, if you have this disc again, instead of a right to left flight, it's going to have a left to right flight when you're throwing your forehand. And so with this thrasher, if I throw a normal forehand, straight forehand, it's going to, like I said, turn over and going the opposite way. So if you have a disc like this, you want to actually give it some angle so it flips up and does the correct flight. So if you're having trouble, that's one good thing to remember. Some discs are very what's called overstable, which means this disc loves to go right to left on a backhand or left to right on a forehand. And this one, understable. It's actually I would say a lot easier for beginners to find an understable disc where if you throw on a ton of hyzer, it'll flip up and still have the same flight. It actually goes further for you. Very good disc for beginners, and I would recommend just searching up ChatGPT, internet, anybody. People will help you, internet will help you find an understable disc like this thrasher, which I've learned it and I've loved it. Now we'll move on to teaching the forehand. Okay, first now, as we're moving on to the forehand, I'm gonna explain some different grips. Now, everyone does it differently. It's totally based off of feel, but just to give you some ideas of how people throw. For one, you take two fingers like this and you extend them out into the rim. And you don't want them to like be flat against the rim. It's kind of straight out, touching like this flat piece. And you want to pinch your thumb against your middle finger. That's kind of like the idea you want to have in your head. Now there are other ways to hold it. Like you can, instead of straight out, you can kind of bend your fingers in like this. Jayden, that's how he throws his forehands. He does it pretty well. I don't like it personally. There are many other ways, like one finger. Some people literally just do one finger. Some people do three fingers. It's based off of feel. Like you can do this. I don't know many people who do that, but this is the most basic form, I'd say. And a lot of forehand is just the flick of the wrist. So next we'll move on to the form. Okay, so when I was learning the forehand, literally my very first throw, Jayden can, he can tell you guys, it was true. I threw my forehand in literally straight right.
It's pretty funny.
It was the worst thing you've ever seen. It literally just flipped over like that. So this right here, like I said, it's an overstable disc. So on a forehand, it loves to go left to right. So that's something to remember. If you are throwing a forehand and you throw it on a bad angle, like a lot of hyzer, because these discs already hyzer, which means left to right on a forehand, if you throw it on angle, it's going to really go far right. So what you want to focus on is keeping a straight angle, or even a little bit of anhyzer, which is putting the opposite angle of where it likes to go. This will actually give you further flight on the disc. And one good tip that I struggled with was, everyone was just like, focus on the flick, which that is true. That is how you throw a forehand, is focusing on the flip. But you also need to understand where your arm is at. Because if all you're doing is just focusing on the flick and you don't realize your arm is down or your arm is up like this, because if you focus on the flick and your arm is like this, literally it's going to just flip over and it's gonna hit the ground and roll. I know many people struggle with that. I know I struggle with that, where I'd be like, oh my gosh, it keeps going so far right, let me over exaggerate, and then it just flips over and rolls, and then I'd get so mad. You have to realize where your arm is at. And so the basic way to do it is just focus on, and you can pre-cock your wrist too. I know lots of pros preach that, is pre-cocking your wrist and just focusing on your arm going straight back, straight forward. And once you're coming forward, that's when you flick your wrist through. Some people even say when you're flicking your wrist, act like you're slapping someone across the face. And you want to make sure you're finishing outward, because if you're staying back, it's going to not a lot of power and it's going to finish far right. But most importantly, make sure that arm is straight back, straight forward. A lot of people do, you know, all of these crazy motions. Those are for the pros. Okay, us beginners, we can't do that quite yet. It's so much easier to just focus on straight back and straight. All right, now I'm gonna explain, before I explain a run up, which is where most of your power is gonna come from, I'm just gonna, first, I want everyone, beginners, learning forehand to just start with a standstill, just literally shoulder width apart. You can even, you know, pull this leg back when you're doing your forehands, because, and why I'm telling you this is, it's really hard. You can easily watch a video, and I would do this. I'd watch tons of video on how to learn form, and I would like, okay, I know everything, I know how to do the perfect form in my head, but the second you start to do it, it falls apart. Which is why keeping your body still and just focusing on that straight arm back, straight arm forward, and the flick is gonna make it so much easier, because you don't have to think about the legs yet. So once you've really gotten this mastered with your legs still, then you can move on to the run-up. And what the run-up is, you can, like a backhand, you can just do, you know, a full X step like this, but what I've found easier as a beginner is just a little, what I call bunny hop. And so what you're gonna do is you're going to step with this foot, so your left foot forward if you're a righty, it's gonna be a right foot if you're a lefty. You're gonna step with this foot forward, and then you're going to, basically it's gonna be a hop. This foot's gonna replace this one's gonna land, and as you're doing that, same form, straight arm back, straight arm forward, and a flick. So basically, it's just gonna look like this. It's gonna be step, hop, throw, all like that. And the arm, remember, arm straight back, straight forward. So once again, I'll show you again. So it's gonna be a step, replace, throw. And that is the easiest form as a beginner. It eliminates way more problems. It keeps it easier to remember in the head. And trust me, the muscle memory will come down much quicker. And muscle memory, guys, that is what makes you a better player. You need to do it until you don't mess it up anymore. All right, if you made it this far in the video, I'll give a little bit of more advanced tips. As I said, I was a beginner. I'm still learning. But now that I'm actually being consistent with my forehands and they're no longer, you know, hitting the dirt, rolling, easy outright, here's some things that I've learned. So while I've been preaching straight arm, straight back, you know, one motion and flicking, you can then start to implement a little bit of angle control. So because this disc is very overstable, you can actually angle your arm a little bit up. So my arm is straight. If you angle it a little bit up, you don't need to move your wrist anywhere. It's all in the arm. You can actually just, you know, bunny hop with the arm a little bit up, throw it, and what it's gonna do is you're gonna be flexing it. So it's going to go, it's gonna actually start going left first, it's going to stable out and then go right. This has gotten me more distance on my forehand, and it's actually an easier way to craft around a tree, through a fairway. It makes it much easier, and this is for, you know, if you're getting consistent, this is something you can start trying to practice. Same with this thrasher now. This thrasher, because it, if you throw it straight, it's gonna turn over. You can actually now angle it down, your arm, not the wrist, remember, it's the arm. Angle it down, so when you're throwing it, it'll flip up, and then it'll act like a same forehand. And that is something that I just recently learned, and it's actually very helpful, and it's honestly an easier disc once you learn that angle control and you keep your arm and your wrist all in one area, because if you accidentally are having a problem with like lowering your arm, like on hyzer, this disc literally overcorrects for you. It'll overcorrect and it'll fly like a normal forehand. It's game changing, honestly. And so what I'd say mainly as my #1 tip is just, I've been preaching it, arm straight. So Thank you guys for watching. If you have any more questions, if you want me to cover anything else on the forehand, let me know. I'm not perfect. I was a beginner once. I'm not a pro, like I said. But those are some tips. Those are some ways that I learned how to consistently throw a forehand. So thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next one.